Hey everybody, tonight we're going to be talking about the pop-up by GEEONE. I have to tell you right off the bat, I'm really not happy with this, and I'm going to be sending it back or getting a refund if at all possible. I did not post this as an advisory because the more I thought about that, the more it comes off as being clickbait. I don't want to do that. There are people that still might be interested in this thing. I'm going to go over it, even though I'm a little disappointed. Now, I'll tell you why that is, but we'll still go over it, assuming that it did work like it should. It might be for some people, but it's not going to be for me. Please stick around. So I got this from a GEEONE store on AliExpress. It was about $65, which means about $70 after everything's said and done. And it's the first piece I've had in a while. I haven't been interested in anything for quite a while, and I've been usually interested in mechanical pieces. This is magnetic. But I slowly got convinced into getting this the more I thought about it, because I have another piece from the same company, and it has sort of a similar function. If you move the top piece, it depends on how you have it set up, but you move the top piece, the back piece can magnetically react. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting, so I'd like to see what this one's all about. But honestly, the first thing that caught my eye was more like what caught my ear. It is obnoxiously loud. And I said to myself, is it really obnoxiously loud, or are you just not used to it? So I took this out to the campsite with me over the weekend, along with a few things. I brought the two louder ones that I have a decibel meter now, and I'm not going to bring it out right now, but it turns out this is really not much louder than some of the louder ones that I already have that I just don't play with. Most of us are familiar with this one. You know, that's pretty darn loud. This is the Biscuit by Clown Orange. I've always, you know, in the very beginning, I'm sure my initial review video of this is positive, but it has always been loud and aggressive, and almost the magnets are so strong it almost makes your fingertips a little sensitive. And I've even taken the measure of putting in nylon balls, so that softens it up some. That way you don't have, you know, ceramic or steel or glass cracking, because that's where the impact happens with the balls. Now, changing the balls in this wouldn't make a difference because of the way this operates. The loudest crack is the last crack when it's closing, and that's really doesn't have anything to do with this part on top here. That's the gimmick on this one. This part bounces back and forth magnetically. What happens is there's an edge right in here that impacts an edge on the inside when it closes. So my first thought was maybe I could put a piece of foam in here to do something, but that wouldn't have any effect on it, nor would having foam down here. And I've been carrying it with the lanyard attached. We'll take that off here in a minute. Matter of fact, we'll just take that off now, if I can get it off without too much trouble. I was a little disappointed. I like toys that I can use my lanyard clip on, and I saw this and I thought, well, that'll work. But unfortunately, it's just a little bit the tab width here is a little bit too big for this clip. I'd have to use a bigger clip, and I don't want to do that. So it was going to have to be, if I was going to keep this, I was just going to use a permanent lanyard. Although you don't really need one. You really don't need one. This operates just fine without a lanyard. I don't know if I did point out the little glass balls on the bottom. And where were we headed? Well, let's get to the point. What broke on me was this screw. Like I said, for the last 2 days I've been carrying it around, using it and trying it out and getting along with it. And I didn't have a reason to take it apart until this afternoon, since I was going to make my video this evening. And I just wanted to see, you know, what I suspect is right here. There's a couple balls underneath here. This part right here and the bottom part come apart pretty easily. I'll show you that in a sec. But the top part that runs loose up here is held in with these two screws. You'll see it moves back and forth. Well, you'll see a screw here. You won't see a screw here because when I tried to unscrew it tonight, I'm very careful about these things too. I found a good screwdriver that fit, and it was tight, very, very tight, but I went very slowly and it was giving, and I thought, okay, well, they glued it, but at least it's giving. And I turned it and turned it and turned it, and pop, the whole screw head broke off. So what you're seeing down there is kind of flush with the surface. It broke right off. I haven't tried to unscrew this one yet, but you're going to be my witness tonight. We'll go ahead and try to unscrew this one as well. I can tell when I look in there, you probably won't be able to see it in this video, but you can tell that it's been Loctited, and there's a bit of a bluish tint to it. So I don't know if they used, what doesn't matter, but it was a Loctite that was much too strong. I think this was a foolish thing for them to do, because they designed this. They know that their customers are going to be taking things apart. I mean, when you look at the inside portion of this, how complicated that is. They know their customers enjoy taking things apart, and if for no other reason, then you're going to get dirt in here, and if any of that dirt is a magnetic particle, dust, iron, whatever, it's going to stick to these magnets. And you'll be able to clean these ones because this comes apart, but the ones underneath here you can't get to, not if these are permanently glued in. So big mistake on their part. And I'll tell you, that reminds me of another, and this is bad. It looks bad, and it's going to make everybody that wants to buy one of these think twice about it. And then even if the company comes back and fixes it, how do you know the one you're going to get isn't bad? How do you know for real? And the good example of that is this thing, and it was called the Multi-D. I was interested in it, really interested in it, and right away I heard reports that the screw was breaking. It has a central screw in it, and it takes all the impact as you move it around. And the initial design had a screw that was too thin and it broke. And I was like, okay, well, not interested, because how do you know now when you order one from whoever if you're going to get a good one? Well, now, if you really wanted to, I could go to, I don't know about this GEEONE store in AliExpress, the one that I bought this from. I don't know if it's the same as the one that we're familiar with from the Daily Fidget on Facebook. But the GEEONE store that we're familiar with through the Daily Fidget on Facebook and whatnot, we can actually talk to that guy, and we can trust him. And if he says, he can sell us that Multi-D with the right screw in it, I would trust that. But the point is, I've lost interest. It would take a while for me to gain interest again, enough to buy one of those, even if I knew it had the right screw in it. So there's the big issue. Let's move ahead to the next. Okay, so knowing that, let's move ahead with this as though there was no problem with it, because lots of people would keep it and not have a problem with it. Like I said, after the last 2 days, I've grown a little bit attached to it, but not so much, because I've requested a return and a refund. We'll see. What came in the box? Here's what the box was. We got extra balls, extra little Teflon squares. You see they're die cut. I'm not quite sure what their purpose is, and I did not see them on here. If there was one in there, I kind of thought there was one. Oh, you know what it is? It's underneath. I haven't shown you how this comes apart yet. There's one underneath on that side, but I don't know exactly why. And you have a card. These are meaningless. This is a sticker, embossed felt bag, and a little length of lanyard. So that's what it came with. Let's do some comparisons here so you get an idea what the size is. So it's really big. The closest things I had to it or this this thing, I forget what it is, by Wanwu. But that is pretty big. And the next thing I had that was close in size would be the oh, I can't think of what this is off the top of my head now. The Chenyu something or other. I'll put it up here. Got this. Something I didn't do. Of course, this one only goes so far. And then you get out the two standard ones. Mackie CP3. And the Metal Toys DZ Top B. Okay. Finally, do some measurements. We'll take it apart next. 55, 27, 12. Alrighty, and for weight, this one's stainless steel. It's available in stainless steel, titanium, and I want to say Zirc, but I'm not sure. Now there are magnets in it, but the closest one's pretty far from there. I'm going to sit it on this end. I think we'll be fine. Close enough. About 108 grams. Okay, well, like I said, it's loud. Louder than I was expecting, but no louder than the existing ones. Magnetic ball sliders that I have. Kind of gimmicky with this. Doesn't do too much for me. It's very loud. Works well with or without a lanyard. And as promised, let's see if we can get the other screw out, or whether or not it just breaks right off. Here I'm using a 9/64 slotted screw driver, and I'm going to gently turn. There, it's giving. See, I've turned it almost 90 degrees. Still very, very tight. There, I've made it 180 degrees. This might be coming out. Ooh, feel the suspense. It looks like it is. Boy, what a shame the other fucking side didn't. Well, good. We can take this review a little bit further. So I can see now glue residue that came up from the outside. Here's the screw. As you can see, the screw on the bottom is a good screw that I just took out. The screw on top is where the threaded part just snapped right off on the inside of the toy. So that's never coming out. Yep. Can't quite tell what kind, but that's glue for sure. That's a little bit of glue right there. Okay, so the bottom part comes out. Bottom part, I shouldn't say the bottom part. Well, this part, we'll say the bottom part, comes off by way of sort of a key right here and here. So you have to get it just up close to this edge, and then it will come loose. And that's about the only place you can get it to come loose. It's very, very little narrow window there. When you take it apart, you'll see a bunch of balls. I think there's 5 on each side. That's 4. That's 4. We're missing one here. Yeah, there's 5 on each side. So those would travel up and down in these tracks. You see how dirty it is already. You know, why wouldn't you want to get in to this side? But they've glued it so tightly that I've ruined one of the screws. There's the piece of Teflon. Now we can see the magic of whatever is on this side. It's just going to be more balls. Oh, very few balls. Oh, look at that. It only has to travel such a short distance that the tracks are just like 2 balls wide. There we got 1, 2, 3, 4 more balls. 1, 2, 3 more magnets. And then there's an interesting, you know what I had said when I was talking about this, making a lot of noise, I said that the impact was occurring somewhere along this edge right here and an edge on the inside, which I assumed would have been this edge in here, that little tab. But I don't think that's what it is now, because there's this little limiting mechanism, so to speak, sticking up that goes into this slot. And I think that... No, I'm wrong. That's just to keep this in alignment, I think. Actually, it is a limiter. It's a limiter because it keeps it from traveling all the way up to where this surface hits this surface. See, there's still a little space there. And I'm sure when this thing's put together, when it's closed all the way, yeah, it doesn't allow you to go all the way down. So I was wrong. That's just a... Let's take this apart again. Get it close and then lift it off. Yeah, so this is not... It's a limiter, but it's a limiter for this loose piece by itself. I was right about that impact. The noise that it makes is hitting when these surfaces here on the inside hit this curved surface here. So enough about that. Anyhow, we've taken it apart now. We've solved the mystery. Now you can see where the screw broke off on that side and the screw came out on that side. What a shame. And the thing is, you know, if you wanted to safely attempt taking these screws out, knowing that there's glue in there, what I would recommend is either acetone or heat. And acetone, I've just had such limited success with it. It takes forever to get down into a tight space like that, and it just seems like it never works. Heat would have been probably helpful, but then you have to be really, really careful you don't get it too hot, because heat, I think it's above 175. I do know exactly what it is, because when I make my sidewinders and I glue my magnets into my sidewinders, I use a specific type of Loctite, and I want that Loctite to be cured for sure, so I bake them in my oven at like 175 degrees. It's like the magic number is like 180 or something for neodymium magnets. After that, they start to lose their magnetism, and to a point, it will come back. But if you get too hot, then the magnetism drops off, and drops off permanently. So heat would have been a good way to get this out, except you're going to screw the magnets up. Acetone may or may not work. It just simply should not have been glued in the first place, or they should have used a Loctite that was less intense. So let's put this puppy back together again, and we'll call it a night. If they return this, don't think I'm going to get a replacement. It's not interesting enough for me. I've had my experience with it. I'd much rather save my money and spend it on mechanicals. I just haven't seen... This is the closest thing in the magnetic world that I've seen that was interesting lately, and unfortunately, yeah, it's a disappointment. So, let's put that screw back in. What the hell? Clean it off a little bit, maybe. Try to. I hope that music isn't coming through too loud, because I don't want to get a copyright violation. It probably is. Sometimes I get a violation, sometimes I don't. And the funny thing is, whilst I'm screwing this in, I'll tell you, oftentimes I'm playing Django Reinhardt, old recordings from the 1930s and 40s, and if it does get a content block, it'll say, there we go, still has glue on the screw, so it's still very tight. Loosened up a little bit. Let's see if I tighten it down the whole way. You can tighten it down the whole way and it still goes. So technically, if they don't take this back, I guess I could keep it. It is functional, and I do have access to the inside of it now. It's not a 100% loss, but it's certainly not, you know, I paid $65 for this, so I'm not thrilled about that. Uh-oh, forgot a ball. Where'd the ball go? Must have fallen out. Alrighty. Here's my broken screw. That concludes this evening's broadcast. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.